You're listening to Deliberate Living, a podcast that inspires, empowers, and encourages listeners to live life more authentically. My name is Holly Priestley, and I'm a full-time nomad and writer who has been living in my 1997 Ford van since January 1st of 2019. I travel the United States with my dog, learning how to live with more authenticity. I explore different ways people choose to ditch the prescribed life we've all been sold and live on their terms, finding freedom and happiness however they choose. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Deliberate Living Podcast. I am your host, Holly Priestley, and today I have with me Noami and Dustin of IrietoAurora, and I am really excited to talk to this couple because it's a couple, and I don't often have couples on the show, and they have been together for about 10 years, married for 6, and in the van for 5, so they have a wealth of knowledge to draw on as far as how to live deliberate lifestyles that work for you and work for you as a couple. And so I'm really excited to dive in and find out more about their story. So hello, Noami and Dustin.
Hi.
Hello.
Good to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. Would you mind giving a little bit of a brief backstory about y'all as a couple for the audience who maybe don't know who you are?
Sure. We are Dustin and Noami of IrietoAurora, like you said. We've been together for a very long time, and we've been living on the road for the past almost 5 years. Feels longer. We are digital nomads. We live a low-waste lifestyle, so we like to say we're eco-van lifers. We do our best. I mean, it's a challenge on its own, living on the road. Yeah. But, do you have anything else?
We got on the road. New Orleans was our home base. Mm-hmm. We still call it home base, even though I don't have a home there. It'll always be home. Greatest city in the world.
I understand.
We got on the road early 2016, so we said it's almost 5 years now, and it's definitely still the best decision we've made, and wouldn't change it for a thing.
I love it. What made you decide to go from living a stationary life to living on the road? Like, was there a catalyst, or was it kind of a slow development, or what was that transition decision-making process like?
Wow. I think for me, it was kind of building for a long time. Mm-hmm. I wasn't sure. I mean, in hindsight, I could see the development, like, okay, this is happening. Okay, there she is getting on the road, embracing a life in the outdoors. But yeah, in the moment, I just felt like I was living, I wasn't living a life that I felt was mine. Like I was living someone else's idea mm-hmm. of success and happiness. And over time, I just fell into a rut where I was suffering with anxiety, depression, just couldn't find joy in anything, drinking a lot, partying a lot, just self-loathing and trying to figure out, what was best for me. Mm-hmm. And I think that was kind of, the catalyst that was building, okay, something has to change. Like, what is this going to be? And eventually I started embracing a life in the outdoors. Dustin and I started doing a lot of backpacking. Yeah. And every time we got, any holidays or vacation, we would just find our way to nature. We escaped all the time, escaped the city, mm-hmm. a city that we love, a city that we called home for a really long time. So yeah, I think that was it. That was kind of when we were like, okay, we want to live a life in the outdoors. What is that going to look like? But when Dustin and I met, actually the first day we met, I told him about my dream of, wow, I would love to travel the country and explore national parks in a van.
Hell yeah.
And that dream kind of died over the years. We graduated college, we got married, careers and all that.
Real life.
And exactly, And then, shortly after we started really spending a lot more time outdoors, we decided to dig up that dream.
Yeah. I think that's incredible.
It was kind of serendipitous. You should
for
tell.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think we had both been dropping hints to each other and thinking about it separately, but we actually both came to the same decision at the same time. I got home from work one day and she was standing in the kitchen looking anxious, and she was like, I walked in and she said, I need to tell you something. I was like, well, I want to tell you something as well. And it was basically the same thing. Like, remember that old dream we had of traveling the country in a van? Why don't we do that? Why don't we give that a try?
I can't. I mean, that's so great to be like. I mean, you're two independent people who have been together for a hot minute and had been married for literally a hot minute, and then to be looking for like something that is right for you individually, and figure out a way that individually you can live a life that is authentic to you and takes away some of this anxiety and gives you less of a need for a vacation and more of just a general lifestyle that you like, but then to actually find it in the same place and be able to continue to do life together, I think it's pretty uncommon and really special.
Yeah, it was really daunting because, of course you want your partner to be on board with what you want out of your life. Yeah, so I felt like, okay, I may have to convince him, but he was already
thinking the same thing.
Dustin, were you worried about telling Naomi? Like, were you worried about having to convince her? Or, I mean, she had already told you that this was a dream she'd had, so.
Yeah, but that had been a while, and we had settled into new lives, and I spent days planning it out, or spent a while like basically writing the script in my head of how I was going to sell this to her, and turned out it didn't need any selling at all.
That's awesome. So then how long did it take you to go from that awesome conversation in the kitchen to actually moving into a van? Like, what was that like? How fast did that happen?
2 months?
About maybe 3 months.
3 months.
Only because it took longer than we thought to find the van.
Yeah.
We had to. We didn't want to talk ourselves out of it because everyone else around us were trying to talk us out of it.
For sure.
So we just made the decision to, pick a date and do it.
Yeah. We wanted to get on the road in the spring, knowing, if it gets really hot in New Orleans in the summer, and all the, if you want to get out west, you want to see all the flowers, you want to be out in the spring.
Yeah.
And initially we said we were going to do it for a year. It wasn't supposed to be a long-term thing. We were going to travel for a year and then get it out of our system and go back to our regular lives.
Right. That regular definition of success and happiness and contentment. And if you just check all these boxes, you'll be fine.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. Like it was something we needed to get out of our system. But about 6 months in, we realized there was no way that was going to be a 1 year thing.
Yeah.
And here we are almost 5 years later.
So how are you in the same van still?
Yes.
Yeah.
Technically, we've done a lot
of work
to this van in the 5 years.
It's the same van
Right.
with like probably thousands of dollars and thousands of hours of upgrades and changes.
Yeah.
And you guys recently got a dog too, right? You didn't have it previously?
Lying at our feet now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amara, the German Shepherd.
And how old is Amara?
She's a little over a year old, and she's our 90-pound lap dog.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get it. My dog is definitely not 90 pounds. She's only about 40. But she's just, I don't know. She loves being on the road and she loves being with me all the time. And if I let her in my lap every time I drove, she would be in my lap. How has your lifestyle changed with having a dog around?
Oh, it's so much more fulfilling.
Yeah.
I don't know what we did before we had a dog. Like, how did we entertain ourselves?
I don't even know.
Oh, life has changed so much. Yeah, it's definitely more challenging, and we have to be much more intentional about, the errands we run and going into cities and being hotter climates. But it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
a lot of time outdoors, so she gets plenty of exercise.
That's good.
Yeah, a lot of people wonder sometimes, like, how do you fit 3 of you in a van? I think sometimes people think like we only stay in the van. It's like, hello, have you seen our big giant backyard? It's ever changing.
Yeah. I think one thing that, I mean, I get a lot of the same questions about like having a dog in the van and like, is she even living a good life if she's just in the van all the time? Like, well, if she was in the van all the time, she probably wouldn't be, but she's not in the van all the time. And the whole point of being like living in a van is that you live out of the van.
Exactly. It's to be close to the outdoors. Yeah.
She's living her best life.
So when you guys were in New Orleans pre-van, I imagine you both had careers and you were, you know, climbing whatever corporate ladder or establishing yourself professionally in some way. Were you able to take those jobs on the road with you? Or since you were only going to do this for a year, did you save up so you didn't have to work? Or like, what does that look like for you? And how did you make that transition?
I quit completely. I was ready to do something different. But Dustin can share his story, which was amazing. I was
a project manager for a commercial construction company, and I went in to put in my 2 weeks notice, and my boss asked me if I would be willing to stay on part-time and work remotely while he trained my replacement.
Hell yeah.
So it was really a godsend. We had no idea what we were going to do. We had saved up a little bit of money, but we were pretty confident that we would make it work. That gave us that extra boost so now we knew we had some income, and it gave us time to figure out our path.
Yeah. But you didn't let the not knowing and the uncertainty at first like hold you back at all. Because you decided this is the date we're moving into the van, so that you wouldn't talk yourself out of it. And so this was also a non-negotiable, like we're still going to figure it out.
Yeah, basically. It was tough, you know, dealing with the uncertainty. For me, you know, it was the first time I ever had to like depend on someone else. You know, even though he's my partner, you know, I've always worked, I've always financially supported myself. So it was, you know, I was dealing with a lot at the time. It's like, okay, how am I going to make money? I have to depend on my partner, and all the uncertainty around that, and living, you know, moving into such a small space and leaving everything behind. It was challenging, but yeah. Looking back, it's like, whoa, that was a lot.
Yeah. But when you're in it, you just kind of figure it out because you're like, I don't have a choice. But then, I mean, just like you said, pre-van life, like when you look back on it, of course she's gonna, you know, you take step one, you take step two. Like it would only make sense that you'd live in a van eventually. So now after you look back and you're like, well, all of that makes sense. And of course it was going to happen, but in the moment.
Oh yeah, it was going to happen regardless. Yeah, no regret.
So how do you think those first like 2 or 3 months in the van compared to your most recent 2 or 3 months in the van? What were your immediate experiences like, and how have they kind of changed?
Wow. That's a really good question. I'd say
a long time ago.
I'd say that there's a lot of things. There are some similarities in that the past 2 or 3 months has been fucking hard.
True.
I mean, you know, there's been a lot of uncertainty. You know, that's the same as the first 2 or 3 months.
A lot of growth.
A lot of growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of growth happened in the first 2-3 months, as well as the past 2-3 months here. Yeah, I don't know.
The first 2 or 3 months, we had no idea what we were doing. I can remember the first night in the van. We got out of town, we got to a campsite, and then we just sat there looking at each other like, okay, what do we do now? Like, we can't go anywhere, we can do anything, but we came from, you know, this structured life that, you know, at best you get a few days off, so you know what you're going to do on Monday. You got to go to work. Now it's like we're looking at each other with all of these possibilities, and it's like, okay, now what?
Yeah. And it's like exciting and maybe a little like anxiety inducing. You're like, we have so much freedom. We have so much freedom.
Exactly. That's a really good description. Yeah.
I mean, I know the past like 2 or 3 months has been a little bit bananas because 2020 has been a little bit bananas as a whole. I know like logistically you guys have figured some things out. You know what to do with your time now, and I'm sure you have better systems of like storage and cooking and everything else in the van. But there's a reason you've decided to do this for going on 5 years. You want to talk a little bit about what's kept you going and why you haven't moved back to your home base and had a sticks and bricks life?
I think for me, the freedom to decide how I want to live.
Yeah.
You know, I can do so much in this lifestyle. You know, I'm not attached,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I think my mom said it best when she was visiting us over the winter, and we took her in the van for a weekend to go camping, and she said, "Wow, I can see why you love this." And you know, just for clarity, my mom lives in my country. It's in Trinidad, and so you know, this is all new to her. So she said, "I can see why you love this lifestyle." She's like, "It's so freeing. You can just keep going and never look back."
Yeah.
And that really stuck with me because it's exactly how I feel. It's like, you know, I get to decide where, how, why, what.
Yeah.
I get to choose, you know, when I want to work, you know, my hours, I can create it. We're fully remote. We're designing our lives the way that we want to live it. You know, it's not based on someone else's idea of what success is and what happiness is. You know, we live so minimalist. The simplicity of it is just so beautiful and freeing. And yeah, I wouldn't change it for anything. And I think that's the first 6 months on the road. We looked at each other. We're never going to stop doing this.
Yeah. I think the other reason we have continued this is because mainly Naomi gets antsy if we sit still for too long. If we sit still for 2 weeks, she's like, okay, I'm ready for something new.
Oh, I get it. This year,
Sorry.
I was just going to say this year I've been embracing the slow travel more out of necessity because this year has been crazy, but also because my first year in the van, I was constantly moving and going new places, and that was great. But I think now I need to slow down, and evidently so does the rest of the world. Yeah, if I sit still too long, like if I just visited my family, and if I stay with them too long, I get very like what's going on? I need to move. I need to like see something novel. I need to like go have an experience in nature somewhere.
Right.
I agree. I feel the same. And like you were saying, this year, I mean, we've practiced slow travel a lot during our van. We try to anyway, even though I get really antsy. But yeah, this year we've done a lot more. Like we sat still for 2.5 weeks the other day and just hunkered down and got work done. And I actually enjoyed it. It was. Yeah,
we've definitely.
Sometimes it depends on the work that you're doing, right? Like some work, I mean, I could sit and work on 24/7 for a month and still be rejuvenated by it. And some work, you hand it to me and like 5 minutes later, I'm like, fuck this shit. I don't want to do this anymore.
Amen. I just passed it to him. Hey, I want to do this. That's one of the pros of working with your partner. I give him all the studio stuff.
You're not doing a remote project management for construction anymore. Now you're working together. What kind of work are you creating these days?
Oh man, all kinds of stuff. We do a lot of writing, a lot of creative projects. I do a little bit of photography. And I am actually about to have my own podcast, Nomad.
Yeah, you are.
Yes, I am. So I've been working a lot on that lately, and Dustin's been running our blog
and website, IrietoAurora.com, and Naomi also started Diversify Van Life, which has turned into a full-blown community. And of course, now is leading into the podcast, Nomads at the Intersections, coming out next month in October.
All right.
So excited.
There's a lot of big things happening.
Definitely we'll be linking to all of that in the show notes for sure. I can't wait. I'm really excited for the podcast and all of that.
So am I.
Me too.
Yeah. It's been a really fun journey, like seeing it all come together. I can't wait to share it with the community.
Hell yeah. What do you think are the biggest pros and cons of the lifestyle? I mean, you've already mentioned the biggest pro being the freedom to just do kind of what you want to do with your own time and not be like trapped into something. Are there any additional big pros that you can think of, and what are some of the cons?
I think that a lot of the pros have become evident this year with COVID. We don't have to be confined to a city. We weren't on lockdown. Of course, we were self-isolating, but we were able to do it in a location of our choosing and still move slowly and responsibly to other locations. And then recently, so I'm from Lake Charles, Louisiana, which was devastated by Hurricane Laura last month. So most of my family have spent the last month trying to figure out, where they're going to stay for the first couple of weeks, and now they're putting the pieces back together. And even if we were there during that time, we have the option to just jump in the van and go and take all of our things with us. So having that flexibility when things really go south to be able to just go off grid and be self-sufficient is, for me, that's one of the biggest pros.
Yeah, always being home.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can move your home out of harm's way relatively. I mean,
Yeah.
Driving is one of the most dangerous things you can do on this planet, but
I hear
when
that.
there's a hurricane or wildfires like threatening where you're living, you can kind of pack up and find a spot more inland. Actually, for both of those, more inland is better.
Right now.
Yeah, I think that's another really big pro. Yeah,
Mhm.
just always having your home with you.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. What are your cons?
It's a really small space, especially if the weather's bad when we've got to be inside. With 2 humans and a dog, it can get crowded at times. Sometimes you just want more space.
Yeah.
Which is why we chase 75 and sunny.
Yeah.
Which is a pro. We have the option to do that.
Well, and your dog is the size of an adult, small adult. So you've got 3 adults in a Westfalia?
Yeah.
80 square feet when everything's popped up and expanded.
Yeah. Are there any other big cons you can think of?
Let me see. Weather.
Sharing the space with another person, it's pro and con because there's been a lot of growing pains, especially early on. There was a lot of growing pains. And I think something like this it would be make or break for most couples, for most partners.
Yeah.
Either gonna know that you can really survive anything together, or you're gonna quickly realize that it's not gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately for us, we've worked through most of those growing pains and learned how to move around one another and create space for one another when space is limited. So I feel like van life, nomadic life is about. I feel like it's about turning cons into pros, and that's what makes.
Oh man, that's a quotable.
Right? I know.
Yeah. How do you guys make like 2.5 people's worth of stuff fit in a Westfalia?
You ever play Tetris?
Yes.
He's a Tetris master. I just get out the way. Yeah, we downsize a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We change our gear with the seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So,
is there a facility for that, or?
Well, we thrift a lot. This year, we haven't really done a lot of it. COVID. Sorry about that. Previous years, we would cycle our gear through thrifting.
Okay.
And this year, we've just downsized a lot since having Amara. Like, we have to make space for her and all her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we've done a lot of downsizing, and we're super minimalist. Right now we have like all our backpacking gear right here. We're going backpacking this weekend, but usually not that packed.
Yeah, my backpacking gears was one of those things that I absolutely have to bring with me, like non-negotiable. I can get rid of like my snowboarding stuff. I can leave that someplace where there's actually snow. Most of my things I just really got rid of, but yeah, those key items, like I'm not gonna cycle backpacking gear. I'm just going to keep the stuff I have.
Keep those, yeah.
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 Climbing stuff, that I'm not going to cycle. But yeah, seasonal clothing, why not?
Right.
Yeah, seasonal clothing, winter stuff. We don't really do a lot of winter stuff. It's just I have trauma. Our first year on the road was we decided we wanted to do winter, and we had like a massive breakdown in a blizzard, and it just traumatized me.
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I don't blame you at all. Do you have any idea of what it costs you guys every month to live out of the van? Do you keep an eye on your budget, or are you more like, everything is fine as long as it's all in the positives, we're good?
Yeah, we've gotten a lot. It was that way for a while. It was just making it work.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten a lot better with keeping track of our budget, though this year with COVID, it's been a little different because we've avoided cities. We've been out in nature more than normal, which is mostly where we are anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'd say the answer we like to give people, and that we've learned from other van lifers and digital nomads of how they make it work, is the average you need for one person living in a van is about $2,000 a month.
Uh-huh.
And I'd say for a couple, it's about $3,000 a month, because obviously you share a lot of those expenses.
Right.
And of course, for everyone, it's different. Everyone has their own bills, and if you have debt, you're bringing with you. But I'd say a good budget for us is around $3,000 a month, and it depends on how much we move, how fast or how slow, how often we want to splurge. But
gas and food, biggest expenses.
That was
it's a lot less than before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for most vanners, gas and food are the top budget items for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's really, really good advice. And I love it when my guests can give actual concrete numbers. I know it's like uncomfortable and people don't always want to share like how much they make or how much they spend. And one thing that I tell a lot of people is that van life can cost as much or as little as you want it to. I mean, within reason, of course, but I mean, there are some months where I only spend like $400 or $500 if I'm really slow traveling and I'm being really frugal. And there's months that cost, a couple $1,000, again, depending on traveling or mechanical issues. It happens. It's part of living in a van.
Yeah. We've gotten better about breaking those things down and sharing more, because we share a lot about digital nomadism on our website.
Yeah.
So we've put some things out there and gotten better about breaking down what it costs to live on the road, at least from our experience.
Yeah. And I think that that's really important to asterisk, like my experience is, our experience is, your needs may differ.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know what the future of your plans look like? Are you going to stay in the Westfalia? Are you looking to upgrade? What are you looking at?
I don't know.
Well,
an upgrade would probably be in our future.
Put a new engine in the van last year, and I've been constantly making upgrades, but eventually a bigger rig. But we're
later
I'm in the Westie for now.
Yeah, eventually a bigger rig. Maybe boat life a little bit in Trinidad when it's safe to travel.
That would be cool.
Yeah, my family's still there, so I've been yearning to spend some time with them. That was kind of our plans for early next year, but I don't know if it'll happen. So yeah, we'll see.
It'd be nice to go around the Caribbean in a boat.
That sounds pretty ideal. Maybe not this time of year. Maybe springtime, I guess, maybe is better weather-wise.
Winter,
When it's cold here, it'll be warm there.
That sounds great. Having a giant dog on a boat sounds like a whole nother thing to have to navigate.
She loves the water, though.
She loves
a strong
swimming.
Swimmer.
That's awesome. Has she seen saltwater yet?
No,
not yet.
She
will
winter,
soon.
hopefully.
Soon?
Yeah, we're planning on going down to Baja for the winter.
I would love to get down there this winter. That would be sweet. I just remember the first time my dog met saltwater. She didn't really know what she was getting herself into. We were up in Washington at I think it was the Puget Sound or something, or somewhere near there. There was a dog park right on the beach, and she ran up. She was so excited. We'd been driving all day. She was gonna get out and run around, and she like goes and she scoops up a big gulp of water as soon as we get in there, and like then she just like spits it out. Her face gets all wrinkly. She's like, "What is this?" And there's like seaweed coming out, and she was very upset.
That's hilarious.
So the first time you introduce her to saltwater, video it.
Yeah.
Because I want to see.
We'll keep that in mind.
Do you have any advice that you'd give to somebody, especially a couple who are living that sticks and bricks life, trying to accumulate success and wealth by the standards they've been raised with and maybe aren't finding success? Do you have any advice for maybe younger you? What would that look like?
Younger me. Hurry up and get out. Follow your dreams fast. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say if you have that nagging feeling that something isn't working, don't stick to whatever you're doing just because everyone else says it's the best thing to do or what you're supposed to do. If you feel like it's not working for you, you owe it to yourself to find something that does work. Don't be afraid to make a change, because while changes are always scary beforehand, they're very rarely that scary once it's happened. It's rare that you regret those changes. So I would say, if something's not working for you, find something you like, find something you're passionate about, and move towards it.
And don't let the noise of other people's thinking affect what you really want to do deep down inside.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so sweet. I think one of the biggest things that you guys have kind of drilled home in this talk today was just about like the speed of it. Like if you want to do something, like everybody says, just follow your dreams, do what you want to do, but like also do it kind of quickly so that you can't talk yourself out of it, so that you can't like stay stuck where you are. And I mean, to your point, Dustin, yeah, fear is strongest on this side of the activity. The second you do whatever the hell it is you want to do, I mean, fear doesn't exist afterwards necessarily, not in the same magnitude.
Yeah.
I'd say jump in quickly and then go slowly.
Make the leap fast and then slow the heck down and like feel it out.
Right.
It's pretty radical. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I think what we've learned is that you never know what is going to work for you until you actually put yourself in the situation.
Yeah.
So you can grow from it.
Don't be afraid to experiment with it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's our whole life, right? Van life is a big experiment, I feel.
Yeah.
Single year has been so different, so unique. Every experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
And if you want to live in a van or a boat or whatever, there's no wrong way to do it. You know, you go on social media and you search like hashtag van life, hashtag boat life, hashtag digital nomading. I mean, there's a couple of like regular themes, I guess, that run through those, but there's no right or wrong way to do it. And if you're following somebody else's prescription for any kind of life and it's not working for you, like pivot a little bit, try something else, see what works for you, and don't listen to the noise, like Naomi said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree.
Awesome. So if people wanted to come find you on the interwebs and follow all of your adventures, of course, I'm going to link to them in the show notes and to your new podcast and all of that. But where are you guys on the internet and how can people find you?
IrietoAurora on Instagram, diversified.vanlife on Instagram, IrietoAurora.com.
Yeah, diversifyvanlife.com. Yeah, that's the big ones. And it's coming soon. Diversify Van Life presents Nomads at the Intersections podcast, launching in October wherever podcasts are found.
Sweet! That's awesome. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in for another episode of Deliberate Living. If you enjoyed this episode, please go ahead and leave a 5-star review or share it with a friend of yours who you think really needs to hear this information. If you want to support the podcast in other ways, I do accept Venmo and PayPal to offset some of the costs of creating it. And I hope you guys tune in next week for another excellent episode. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
We've reached the end of this episode of Deliberate Living. You can find the show notes and everything we referenced over on my website, and be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts on YouTube or sign up for email updates every time something new is published. I'll see you next time on Deliberate Living, and until then, keep your life on the DL too.